Hey guys, this is Jen. I am coming to you from my home studio in Paynesville, Minnesota. And today we are talking about sculpture. If you are looking at this video because you have picked up a sculpture kit from your library, that is a great thing. If you did that, please say a big thank you to the state of Minnesota because they give a small amount of taxpayer dollars back to libraries every year to promote the arts. And so that is how you can get things like this. It's a very, very amazing thing. So today we're going to go over the basics of sculpture and then specifically how to make a sculpture from air dry clay and found objects. So let us begin. Okay, I'm gonna go through everything that's in this sculpture. Let's talk about air dry clay first for a moment. You have a little piece of it in your kit wrapped in wax paper, and this is what I get. So I have gotten you Crayola air dry clay. I use this. I have used it for about 10 years. My daughter and I used to make a lot of amazing things, and this really is for all ages. I still use this. My daughter is a teenager now, and we just recently made little bowls that are just beautiful from it. So let me go over just a little bit how to use the air dry clay. So air dry clay is an amazing thing because you don't need a kiln to dry it. So it dries by the air, and it takes 1 to 2 to 3 days to dry depending on how thick your piece is. So I think what you're going to be making with the kit stuff will probably dry in a day, but 2 days for sure. So that's really exciting about it. You just set it aside, don't mess with it, and in a day to a couple of days you have a perfectly dry piece. So that's cool. If you want to put different pieces of clay together, you can do that. So I recommend in the instructions for my kit to just keep it in one piece and make your shape from the one piece. So that's how it's going to be the most durable. But if you want to take it apart and have different pieces and then put those pieces together, you can do that. What you need to do is wet it and score it. And so just get it a little bit wet with like a washcloth or something, and then just knead those pieces together. Or make little indents with, like, let's say a fork or a toothpick in there too, so it has something to grab onto, okay? So that you can do with it. You can also, after your clay is dried, you can paint it. You can use markers on it. For a while, we just did markers, drew markers on it, and then kind of rubbed them in, and it kind of gave it a tie-dye watercolor look. Really fun, really fun. So you can do that with it. And you can also go online and see more ideas of what you can do, but very easy to work with. What I use is I have dedicated an old bread knife to cutting up my clay. And then also I have dedicated some other tools just to create texture in my clay. You can maybe do that with your sculpture. So lots of different things you can do. So let's get into a little bit sculpture. Let's talk about sculpture for a bit. So sculpture is a three-dimensional piece of art. When you're creating a sculpture, you want to look at a few different things and think about a few different things. So you want to think about what you want your sculpture to look like. So let's talk about size, or think about size. So do you want it to be smallish? Do you want it to be big? Do you want it to be tall? Do you want it to be low? Let's talk about color. Do you want it to be lots of different colors? Do you want it to be not a lot of colors? Let's talk about Do you want to have tons of different things to look at? Do you want to have it very simple and barely have anything on your sculpture? Okay. Do you want to have it be straight lines? Or do you want it to have curves and spirals and soft lines? So these are just some of the things that you want to think about when you're creating sculpture, okay? If you put some thought into pieces of art that you make, then they will turn out beautiful for sure. And I think that it takes a while too, and that's what I've suggested in your instructions in the kit. It takes a little while to get going with a piece of art. I know with me, sometimes I just am like, even if I'm not in the mood to create art, I just do it, because once you get into it, then you get in the zone and you create something really beautiful. So stick with it, you know, and think of different things you can do, and just do different things with your sculpture and see what you like, okay? This is a piece of art. This will last years and years and years. So it's a cool little thing you'll have for a long time. You could give this as a gift, or you could keep this on your desk or your nightstand or anywhere. It's pretty cool, and it can inspire you to make new things. So it's awesome. So that's a little bit about sculpture. So I'm gonna take out, so today we're gonna make a piece of sculpture out using the air dry clay and using found objects and wire. So let's take a look at this. So in here you have instructions. And you have your wire. And you have your found objects. So you see, you have like a spool, buttons, you have like silver items that are fun. You have a wooden thing. Oh, I have so much fun putting these together. And then, so those are all your found objects. And then you have a piece of air dry clay that is in wax paper. So use your wax paper the entire time, okay? Do your project on your wax paper so this doesn't get, your air dry clay doesn't ruin anything, okay? And so then take this out here, and you have your piece of clay, all right? Now you're gonna work with this. So this could be any shape you want it to be. The more you work with this, the easier it is to work with, okay? So play around with this, have fun with this. You can use different tools. If you have like a little rolling pin that you already use for art projects, you could use that. You can just use your hands. I typically always just use my hands. So play around with this. The one thing I suggest is to keep this at least an inch thick. Because you're going to be putting items into your air dry clay, and so those items need to stay put. It needs to be at least an inch thick, okay? So try to do that. So work with this, work with this, work with this, all right? Then come up with the shape that you want, and then you are ready to think about what you want to do with it. So I have included a bunch of different wire in your kit, and then you've got all of these little found objects. So let's talk about how to use this wire. I like to take something like a pencil, and I'm just gonna take this little guy. And then I like to just, for example, wind it around here. Take it off. You've got a cute little curly cue. All right. Think about all the other things that you could wind around here. So if you want to create some different shapes with your wire, that would be a really great thing to do. Like I like to use rulers. That makes fun shapes. You can just bend it with your hand. You can really wind it around anything small to get some fun, different shapes. So if you're putting things on your wire, which you can put all of your found objects on your wire. You could stick your found objects in the air dry clay. If you put your found objects on your wire, you just want to make sure that that's going to stay put. Okay, so like this little guy right here, this little curlicue, I made a little bend in here. So this guy stays put like that. Okay, so it's also fun to have them moving around. Like on this, if you're gonna do a spiral and you wanna stick an item on, you would obviously wanna stick it on before you do your spiral. So you could put like a couple of buttons or something on in the middle of here, then do your spiral. They would stay in that location. A lot of fun different things to do. So play around with that. Then when you're ready, you can use all the materials. You can use barely any of the materials. You can use some materials from home, whatever you want to do. So then when you're ready to put your items in your clay, just make sure that when you stick it in there, you stick it in there down a ways, and then you press your air dry clay around it really tight, okay? And then it's ready to go. So after you have created everything and you have a really fun sculpture, then you can set it aside. You're ready. So keep it on your wax paper the entire time. When you're done with it, set it aside for the day to 3 days. Check the bottom to make sure it's hard, and then you're ready to go. And that's it. You guys will probably make a ton of sculptures this summer. Make some little bowls too, like to put like little trinkets in, your jewelry in, whatever. So much fun. So you would just take this and you would just put it over the outside of a bowl and then let it dry that way, or take it off. I think what I did was actually I put it on the outside of a bowl and then I took it off gently to let it dry. That would be fun too. I also did want to tell you, like on this sculpture, I made a lot of indentations in the clay when it was wet. That's really fun to do. So you could use a pencil, a marker, a toothpick, a knife, a fork, whatever you have laying around. If you want indentations in your clay, that would be fun too. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great time making a sculpture. I hope you continue. Keep creating, my friends. It's a wonderful thing. It makes us so happy. All right, thanks. Oh, and if you want to share pictures or have any questions, you can visit me at Jen Anfinson Studio on Facebook. I also have my videos on YouTube. Okay, so it would be great to see what you have made. Thanks so very much. Bye-bye.